There's three types of trauma that most therapists would say, if you're putting them in categories, just to kind of understand what we're talking about. You have acute trauma, which is a response that you have to a one-time traumatic event. My story, our car accident, acute trauma. Maybe it was a natural disaster. Did anybody live through Hurricane Hugo still? I got any OGs? Yeah, longtime South Carolinians. We together experienced a trauma. You may be watching online from the Midwest and you've experienced a tornado or a natural disaster of some sort, one-time trauma. It could be losing your business in COVID. Somebody may have experienced a sexual assault. Whatever it was for you, it was a one-time event that you now will experience a response to that event. Even though that event had a middle, beginning, and an end, your response seems like it's unending. You never know when it's gonna show up. You have chronic trauma, and this is a long-term response for prolonged or repeated events. Maybe you were bullied all throughout school, and it created this long-term response that you have to certain situations. Maybe you experienced racism all of your life. And so you find yourself in different moments experiencing triggers and responses to different situations. Maybe you were raised in a home with alcohol or substance abuse and your home was never a safe place for you. It's chronic trauma. Some experienced ongoing abuse from somebody that was supposed to protect you, but didn't. And that was your narrative. Post-traumatic stress syndrome, right, is what we commonly refer to when we think of soldiers. And that's chronic trauma that went and experienced warfare and saw things and experienced things and had to do things. And you come home, and we know that generations prior famously never talked about it and never did anything about it, but they were dealing with a chronic response to trauma. And then the last one is complex trauma. And that's a response to multiple and ongoing events. It's some kind of combination of the acute trauma and the chronic traumas. So we're dealing with trauma, and trauma can change us. It changes how we see ourselves. It changes how we see God. It changes how we see other people. It changes how we see the future. It changes the lens in which we look at life. Maybe you grew up without money and now you live with plenty, but you still have an ongoing fear of not having enough. And it's this thing that's changed the way you see your circumstances and your situations. And again, the moment, the injury had a beginning, middle, and end, but the trauma, the response doesn't. It's kind of an ongoing deal for us. John 10:10 says the thief's purpose is to steal and kill and destroy. And Jesus says, my purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. You all know this, the enemy wants to steal from us, but did you know that the greatest robbery of all time is not taking something that you have, but it's keeping us from getting all that God meant for you to have on this life. That's the enemy's tactic, and using trauma to keep us stuck and to keep us from experiencing the abundant life that God wants. And I want us to experience that abundant life.